The Walking Board of Education meeting. If I can have all the board members to the podium.
You need some pots and pans? I'll find something for you.
Thank you, Mr. McBride.
The board met in closed session under exception C1, C11, C2, and C21. With that, if I could have a roll call, please.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Present.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Present.
President Ewing.
Yes, we do have a quorum. All board members are present. Deputy Cesario is sitting in for the superintendent, who is under the weather, but she will be participating by phone and available for questions. With that, I'd like a motion to resume open session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gonzalez. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. We are now in open session. Ms. Fabian, if you be so kind as to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and it is unfortunately with heavy heart that we have to recognize the passing of community members. I feel like, again, since the pandemic, we've had to do this multiple times, but unfortunately, we lost one of our staff members over, I guess, last week to a motorcycle accident, and so we want to just have a moment of silence for him and the students, as well as our entire Waukegan Public School community. Thank you. We appreciate the many contributions of David Drower, who have been with our district for some time and helped to expand our music program. And to all of those families that are grieving, there are many in our community as we go into this holiday season. I just want to say that you are in my thoughts and in my prayers, as there are many. I'm going to skip my president's report for now. I do want to go to student board member report.
Thank you, President Ewing. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing good this evening. I know the days are getting a little darker as time goes on, so we're going through it one step at a time as winter comes around. Today, I'm presenting my 14th student board member report. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Next slide. Today's statement is about mental health. Next slide. And my quote for today is, "Healing takes time, and asking for help is a courageous step," by Mariska Hargitay. This quote, I feel, really goes to depth of what students experience at specifically our school district and around the country, that mental health is a leading cause of, obviously, anxiety, depression, suicide, anything that goes under that specific umbrella, and that not many students get the help that they need, honestly, at that point. And I would say that all our students really need to find that help, and taking that step is very important. And healing obviously takes time. I went through a little episode also myself during the 7th grade with mental health and trying to deal with it. And honestly, taking that step is very important. And for myself, taking that step was very courageous for me at the time, being like 11, 12? I'm going to say around that time frame. But obviously, at any age, asking for help is important. And it's not showing weakness. It's not showing any of that. It's showing that strength of knowing that healing is important and finding help is not something to be afraid of. But obviously, that is my statement for today about mental health and the importance of it. Next slide, please. New business. Next slide. I had a meeting with the Washington administration, I think 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. Obviously, my objective was to discuss and express student opinion on the new tardy policy. The Waukegan High School at Washington started a new tardy policy, and many students within the hour had a lot of opinions over it and disagreements. And obviously, as a representative, I wanted to really start and talk about whatever had to be discussed through the student voice, through the administration. And obviously, we got through a lot of items within the hour meeting that I had with them, and we changed the policy in a few ways that improved student initiative, and more specifically student ways to and out of classrooms, and not putting too much of that burden of tardies and all that on students specifically that go from AOEC and back, travel students, ROTC students, and stuff like that. So not people get more targeted than others just because of distance and stuff like that. Next slide, please. And a meeting with Member Lensing, there was a few days ago. Yes, it was 3 days ago. Obviously, it was to discuss and coordinate a new policy concerning discrimination and racism. Obviously, we're still working on that aspect, and I think we're going to do great work on that one specifically. Obviously, if Ms. Lensing wants to talk anything about that later during board member time or after this presentation, obviously the floor is yours. Next slide, please. Men for Choice. This was a meeting that I had on Sunday. It was a forum to discuss and examine the reproductive health struggle in the United States and ways to support the movement. Men for Choice, if I'm correct, is a nonprofit organization that educates people that identify as male to support and learn about the reproductive struggle and fight for it and be great allies in that and be getting those resources. It was a great forum with a lot of people from high school and early college levels discussing the fight over reproductive rights, and they have really great opportunities for students. If any student wants to get involved with this, if I'm correct, their username is menforchoice.org if you want to join that fight. Next slide, please. Community Spotlight. Next slide. City of Waukegan visit. This was a few weeks ago. I know that President Ewing did go to this. This was a meeting, or more a forum of sorts, that the city came to us at the Waukegan High School to discuss the planning of a new high school and what would go into it. This is one of the slides that they presented. This is just some data that they discussed with us. And we had a great turnout of students that came to discuss this and had great questions about the high school and what it would look like if we were to create a new one, location, price, obviously. When it came to referendums, what would have to go into it, and all that important aspects. It was a very informative forum, and I feel like students had a great way of showing how this process starts. And Project Bulldog, which is the club, an organization that we started up with Brendan Wendricks. I know that the board does know him, and some of the community members when it comes to creating this new high school, and we're working diligently to discuss next steps when it comes to building a new high school, but we'll keep you guys informed of that. Next slide, please. Parents' Night. This picture is actually an old one. This is from last year. We didn't get the new ones yet. The G5 didn't get them uploaded in time. But this is of Alpha Company last year. Parents' Night, for anyone that doesn't know, is a big event more specifically dedicated towards freshmen and their parents to induct the freshmen into the regiment themselves and giving them their Bulldog unit crest. It was a great event. I was one of the company commanders who had the honor to give my cadets their unit crest and welcome them to my company and the regiment itself. And it was a great time overall. Very stressful when you're the one in the front doing all the motions and everything, so it goes smoothly. But it went a great success, and we thank anybody that did go and parents and all that. Next slide, please. And that's it. If the board members have any questions, comments, concerns, this is the time. I will take that as a no. With that, that is the end of my presentation.
I had a comment.
Yes.
When you have the different events, Mr. Hinojosa, would you please notify all the board members, please?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be in attendance with the city of Waukegan visit. I didn't know anything about it.
No, yeah, of course. When it comes to other stuff like that, we will be prompt to giving that information to the board members.
Well,
Mr. Brickbread?
kind of piggyback off of Ms. Hannah, I was glad to hear you speak about the idea of a new high school. And as for a young man, I think that's great, but we old folks ought to be talking about that rather than you. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Hinojosa, can you elaborate as to what this is? I think there's some confusion from the board, and I don't want to put you on the spot. This was obviously the MICFA challenge, which you mentioned, Brendan, right?
No, yeah. Obviously, the Waukegan High School new high school program project, whatever you want to call it, started with a MICFA challenge project by Braden Wendricks and his team of students back last year to discuss creating a high school. But over the summer and the start of the school year, he started really moving that forward and creating, his own organization, which I work with him, and it's during the high school to create the new high school and stuff like that. And obviously, this forum was one of those first initial steps to discuss anything that the city would want to tell us about, building, pricing, all that type of stuff. Obviously, it was very open-ended because obviously that's creating a presentation that's like 30 slides and having just that stuff for students and having within an hour time frame obviously takes some time. But obviously, the presentation was just more specifically to discuss the idea of it and where it would be hypothetically, what would hypothetically be the price, hypothetical situations and stuff like that, and should we take that into account when the owner organization were to discontinue that discussion forward and, once time comes, present to the board and stuff like that. I hope that answers or clarifies anything.
It does, and so Coach Ashlaw specifically has been helping with this program in that when it's ready to come before the board, but this is a class, they are actually being engaged in their own learning, right? So
yeah, of course.
The students are inviting the individuals are coming to talk, they're putting the plan together, this is their initiative. It's not a board of education, it's not Brandon as an individual board member. So as the board members have expressed, I think there's interest. So if you want to share back to the group that if there are other events or invitations or they want to hear from them, then they can invite them and that they have that request. But thank you for your efforts and your work.
Thank you.
All right, we now are at a spotlight on 60.
Being student of the week helped encourage me to do all the things I'm doing now. Just do your work and be good. I had a friend win it last year and that inspired me to win it this year.
I was interested in helping our youth and the kids in the school district.
Each time that we go out is very different, but they're all very special.
My biggest wish is if many other schools continue this trend that we have here at Miguel Vargas with our community partners and put a smile on the students' face and also the family's face. During the COVID era, as we were preparing for the beginning of the school year, we were thinking, how can we make this connection with our students? We decided to start partnering with some of our community members who had businesses, and they said that they were willing to give some prizes as a form of incentives to our students. So we selected students on a weekly basis, and what we did is we went and surprised the students at their houses. Now, we decided to visit the students in the classrooms. And once the students were selected during the week, either Wednesday or Thursday, the students received their surprise visit. They were surprised with the gift certificate that they just get what they really deserve for doing great in the school setting.
In the beginning of the school year, before we start the year, I send out like a spreadsheet to our teammates for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then we go ahead and make sure that each teacher gets a week to choose a different student. We make sure to highlight our Tiger values each week, and that's basically how we go ahead and select our student. Now, some of the students that are in our club, they've also been recipients of the Student of the Week award. So a lot of the group that I have this year is a mix of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students, and they kind of walk around with me throughout the school so we can surprise the students. The way that I was able to select them is mostly because I was able to see some of their TikToks as well, and I was able to see their personalities, and I was able to see that they like to interview people, they like to be on camera, and they're not shy to go around and celebrate other students. And everybody expects this video each week on TikTok.
When I go to the classroom and I give out the awards, I feel kind of nervous, but I like doing it because I like seeing the kids being happy. I followed all the rules, and that's how I won Student of the Week. I felt excited.
I was pretty excited because there's a lot of kids in the school. It's surprising to be one of them. When I got the award, my friend Johan started hugging me because he was excited for me.
I was being really respectful to all my teachers. I helped kids, and I did a lot of my work. I never missed anything. And I was always early in class. Proud of myself.
I'm a big person to give to the kids. The kids, they are our future, so we have to motivate them one way or another. So always give them something so that they can get motivated in school and do better.
Partners that we have had, La Michoacana, Total Pavements, Wild West Grill, La Canoa. So we thank all our partners in general because we want to make sure that everyone knows that our community's businesses are willing to come out and partner with our school district. They're always willing to provide that support for us. So thank you very much to all our partners.
And I see we have a few folks from Miguel Juarez in the audience, so not sure if you want to say a couple things or Principal Campos.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, board. Good evening, board president. Good evening, public. Thank you very much for hosting us. I would like to express the gratitude on District 60. Just to have the spotlight for us at Miguel Juarez. During the COVID years, like we said, we decided to visit our students because we wanted to make sure that we had this, this face-to-face, at least face-to-face interaction with them. And so this has been evolving over the past few years. So as you can see, it's 2023, right? And COVID was 2020. And so 3 years later, we have transitioned from administrators doing it to teachers to also now it's evolving into students doing these TikToks and you see the smiles in all our students. Here today with us as well is Ms. Cervantes, who's the one who spearheads with our team. So Ms. Cervantes, you can say a little bit more about the program and the students.
Yes, so my name is Ms. Cervantes. I help the students basically. It's a club that's led by students now, and they're all really excited because they get to surprise their peers, their friends. It's a really nice program, and they really do like it. and they get inspired to do better because they always want to be the student of the week. I always get asked every week, who's the next student? Who's the next student? They're really excited. And we kind of did this social media thing with it as well. So we incorporated social media, which all of the kids are really into right now, which is the TikToks and YouTube. Facebook's more for our parents, but they get to see their students on there as well. So it's really exciting.
Miss Fabian and Miss Lindsay.
So if we wanted to follow you on TikTok, what's your handle? How can we see the student of the week?
Our handle is Miguel Juarez Middle School on TikTok and on YouTube as well.
Miss Lindsay.
I'm the type of parent where I don't want my kids on social media. I don't want their faces. The district's not allowed to use my children for anything. So with this program, are all of the parents signing off that they're okay that their children are going to be accessible on YouTube and accessible on TikTok?
So basically, indirectly, yes, at the beginning of the school year, all parents are signed up at the handbook.
So that's an indirect piece. So I would just advise parents, if you're not wanting this for your child, contact the school. You can send a written note that you don't want to participate that way. I don't want to take away from the excitement and the enjoyment of what you're doing with the students, and I get that they're really into social media, but there's a lot of dangers out there. So just as long as our parents are aware and they can contact the school to get that rectified if they need to.
Sure, thank you very much for that. But I can say that honestly, for the past 4 years that we've been doing it, most parents are just excited about the opportunity for them to receive an award, an incentive from our school, and they just actually call us and tell us, just congratulate us and just tell us like, hey, you know what, we're excited. We thank you guys for giving this opportunity to go to these local restaurants that we can do. Because at the end of the day, one of the things that I also want to highlight is that community partners that we have, it's when they get the prize, it's not only for one of them, because we think about the family themselves as well. So it's normally a package of 4, or sometimes the whole family is allowed to come in and eat food or just get their ice cream. So that it's very exciting for them. But I would gladly take that point.
Miss Gonzalez.
Thank you so much for presenting and board members for sharing. One thing that I wanted to add that I think kind of ties into Victor's piece about mental health is that I feel like you guys are helping those kids navigate an age where it might feel a little embarrassing, because I noticed some of the students kind of shying away from the camera to the point of like not, sometimes feeling comfortable. But I think it's also about not always recognizing their worth, right? And feeling almost like it's hard to feel proud about earning, that recognition. And so I appreciate this because it definitely pulls and I was definitely that student, out of their shell to recognize that they're smart, that they're capable, that they should be recognized by their peers and the people in their school district. So I love this, and I see it happening at the middle school level, and I know that Abbott and all these other schools are doing it, but I also want it to happen in the high school. So yeah, I appreciate that, and I wanted to point that out because it does, that mental health piece is important, and it does affect some of our youngest students, right? So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, indeed, it does build, it shifts the morale with our students and also with our staff, right? You can see that they're genuinely appreciated, they're genuinely excited about this, and they always look out for it every Friday when Ms. Cervantes goes with her team and celebrates it.
Thank you. Nice. Appreciate you guys coming out.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And thank you for your efforts.
Yeah.
All right, we have our minutes. I'm going to take these one at a time because I wasn't sure about attendance. But we got 8A, approval of the minutes of the open session board meeting for September 26, 2023. We have a motion to approve.
I motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Gonzalez, second by Ms. Lindsay. Any comments, questions, corrections to the minutes? All in favor, stating with aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. Item 8B, approval of the minutes of the open session board meeting for October 10th, 2023.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments, questions on the motion? Corrections to the minutes? All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. One pass. Minutes are approved. Item 8C, approval of the minutes of the special open session board meeting for October 23rd, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments, questions on the motion? Corrections to the minutes? All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay.
I'm passing.
One pass. Minutes are approved. All right, with that, we now have our opportunity for public comments. So while the sheet comes forward, I'm going to call the names 3 at a time. Please make yourself ready in order to help us expedite the public comment. Individuals who wishing to address the board, this is your opportunity to do so. This is a one-way flow of conversation, so the board will not respond. You get 3 minutes. If you need translation services will be provided to you, and you will get an additional 3 minutes for a total of 6 minutes to allow for translation. We ask that you refrain from mentioning student and staff names in your remarks, and want to remind all our speakers of civility, as well as our policy. If anybody is requesting an ADA accommodation, Mr. Clary, I don't see him in the room. He is here, so if he is next to me, if you guys will make yourself known. First name on the list is Rayanne Nickerson, followed by Victor Felix and Krishana Hanna, in that order.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a voice.
Okay.
But I wanted to publicly acknowledge I received flowers sent on behalf of the district, so thank you for that. I came today to speak. Security was sent to North after the incident last weekend at North Elementary. So I'm coming today because I want to keep the security when we have tutoring after school on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We get out at 4:30. By then it is dark. So it helps when we do have a security person out there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And if the bus is late, like it was today, 40 minutes, it was after 5 o'clock when I put the kids on the bus. It is dark outside. So I hope that you will keep security at North for tutoring, at least through the time change, until it's lighter outside and we feel a lot more safe. There is a lot of foot traffic in that area, and so I hope you will keep security for us over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nickerson. Next up is Victor Felix, and then Krishana Hanna.
Hey, thank you for having me here, school board. Today I wanted to talk about a few things. So I'm coming here as an alderman of Waukegan. In the 4th Ward, we have the high school, the Washington campus. I met with the principal the other day just to go over some issues of traffic. I have mentioned it over since I got elected to a few people, or before I got elected. So I met with the principal. He had some ideas on how to do traffic control on there. So I wanted to come here and tell you guys. I wanted to start having that conversation with you guys and see how we can start working towards. On the city side, we can have police detail to either stop, close out a street while we have people getting dropped off. From what the principal told me, people have gotten ran over, hit, or there was an accident, and over the years, he's been there 6 years. He said that nothing has been done. I feel like Waukegan High School should have a standard where we safely bring in our students and they get dropped off. And I'm here to help bridge that issue. So there is a plan. There's the maps that we went over with the principal, Dr. Thomas, and we wanted to present it to you guys. But more than anything, we want to make sure that we talk about everything that has to do with this idea, which also includes money. Who police detail costs money, that kind of stuff, and on the city side as well. But I'm pretty sure we can come into an agreement where how we can work together and have this traffic control. So that's one. And then another one is easy. I think it's very easy that we all can agree. The Washington campus, the speed limit doesn't go down from when you hit the high school and then when you leave. So I think that's something that we can all agree to. We need to slow down traffic, at least during school hours, in that space. So, and that's something that I wanted to talk about, and that's definitely something that, at least on my end as an alderman, I have the support where we can, move things forward. Of course, if it, something like this where it has to do with safety, I think a lot of the public will support it. More than anything, I just want to say that these small adjustments can make a big difference, especially when our students see that we're worried about their safety, and and we want to make sure that it even looks nice. You have a nice flow of people coming in and out. And also, I did really quickly with parking. Parking is not an issue in the high school. It's not even full. So there's still a lot of student parking that's available. So we want to make sure that the students know that, and also not park in the residential area. But more than anything, I just want to come and open that conversation. The alderman of the third ward also wants to, put something forward for the other high school. But more than anything, I want to come and open this conversation with you guys, and reach out to me, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Felix. Sean Hanna.
Good evening, board and community. Student achievement, teachers and staff, accountability, resources, safety, culture, and climate was a position that our slate took when we ran for the board. Some of the other candidates took the approach that those were important things also in this district. We're failing. Students still aren't learning. Teachers are working without a contract. There is no accountability. You have administrators forging documents and nothing's happening. The resources, I haven't seen any. Safety, not with current lockdowns. With the lockdown, you often say, if you see something, to say something. So you had students that obviously saw something with a weapon. They said something. I believe the students. There was, what I understand, a 45-minute to an hour gap in between the investigation. How many places could the weapon have been hidden in 45 minutes? The metal detectors are kind of iffy from what I understand. If the students are going through them and it goes off and it's a young lady, she can tell them, I have an underwire bra on and it's metal. They don't do anything. Or a male or even a female says, it's my belt that went off. There's no question. Where's the safety? What is it gonna take for a student to get hurt, stabbed, a teacher to get hurt, stabbed with a knife? I believe the students. And then for the district to say that it was unfounded, how do you think that makes the student feel when they saw something and they said something? Do you think they're going to say something again when they see something? I don't think so. Make some changes.
Thank you, Ms. Hanna. Next three names in order are Brother Blinks, Anthony McIntyre, and Randy Sabecki.
Brother Blanks, founder and chief president of Black Abolition Movement for the Mind. Coming up, it's Kwanzaa. And so we celebrate Kwanzaa for a whole week. So as we move this around the district, move this around the community, we want to offer an opportunity to the district during the Kwanzaa, second day of Kwanzaa, which is Kuji Chagalia, self-determination. And I thought it would be a good idea and an opportunity I know would be good for the students, and I know would be good for the district as a whole. So as we go around and we partner with different agencies of the community, I thought of one of those 7 days that we could perhaps offer something to the district where we could partner. Perhaps you guys could provide the venue, the sound, provide the venue, the sound, and perhaps help us get the word out. And we're bringing the entertainment. And if you think this is something that you guys are interested in, feel free to reach out to us. You guys know how you could reach out, how you could get in touch with me. So I'm just kind of trying to get ahead of the curve, because when it comes to culture and when it comes to our heritage, it is not something we want to throw together at the last minute.
Right.
So I'm coming to you all now. If you're interested, get back in touch with me in due time so we can see what we can work out to make it a good Kwanzaa. Also, when I'm listening at what's going on as far as the violence within the school district, and I often say you want our youth to do great things, and you have to show them the greatness and the peaceful people we are and what we come from. So I would like to initiate Kwanzaa, this presentation, as a means with us as Black Abolition Movement for the Mind, reacquainting ourselves with the district so we can aid and assist in doing what we can to curb the violence through the arts, writing and literacy, through poetry, just some of the things that through music, some of the things that we've been doing in our organization in the First Ward and the South Side, which has been proven performance. And when you have proven performance, then you take that show on the road and see what you can do to offer to the school district and your surrounding. In other words, what you want for your family, your community, and yourself, you definitely want it for your extended family of the students in the community. So you know how to reach out to us and get back in touch with us, but just in case not, our number is 773-510-1713. Once again, that's 773-510-1713, Black Abolition Movement for the Mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Blanks. Anthony McIntyre.
On the agenda for tonight, you have on number 18, and I would advise the community to sort of pay attention to it, is speaking to Board Policy 2104, Citizens and District Employee Participation in Meetings. To me, how I read this, it sounds to me like there's an attempt by the district to gag staff members from being able to speak their minds. So I will caution, I think this is the first reading, and if it is, my hope is that you guys will, because this is an addition, so I would hope that you guys would remove it, because it clearly sends the message that staff members better beware. If you decide to speak on something that we don't want you to, we now are armed with the ability to do whatever we choose to do with you. That's not okay as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So that's that. Secondarily, in a conversation today, I think I'm confused by something that happened. So the question I put to the board is, does the board look at their salary, does that give you any authority within your purview to discipline them if they do something wrong that violates the rules? That's the question that I put to you, and hopefully you all can give it some thought, because something should be coming before you very soon that is going to force you to make a decision on that. That's all I wanted. Thank you.
Randy Sabecki.
Good evening, everyone. First off, Friday, I want to congratulate Jack Benny for the award ceremony that they put on for all the honor roll students in the district. It was sad to see not one single board member was there, not one single administrator was there, and we talk about our kids. Nobody was there. Not a one. We show up for elementaries. We show up for the cameras. But when these kids work their tails off, and there are a lot of A honor roll students at that school, not one administrator. And a matter of fact, the principal had meetings at the exact same time, so it was the assistant principal that put on it for the parents. What does that show for our parents? And we say our kids, it's about the kids. Obviously, it's not. That's something that needs to change within our district. Second thing, I let Mr. Moten know we have more exposed wires over at Benny, and those are live wires. So we need to start looking at our buildings, getting them up to code. Third thing, at the last board meeting, we spent 40 grand to hire a law firm to come in that have already investigated how many African American administrators within our district, and we've paid out hundreds of thousands of dollars in settlements. But yet, the community comes up here and asks for an area superintendent to be investigated for signing documents. No investigation. Community comes up here, asks for our HR department to be investigated. No investigations out of all the wrongdoing. But we continually, if administration wants to investigate someone from the African American community in our district, boy, we jump right on it. And it's proven. And if this investigation's found with no merit, I hope they sue the district, because you guys just set a pattern going back of all the other administrators, and we've settled with the same law firm that's connected to our general counsels. And that's not an independent investigation anyways. And lastly, we sit here, we're going to lose another teacher over at Benny. We talked about the right to return. Our HR department should know all the rules for any retired teacher coming back, of how many days you have to wait in order to be for right to return, and other things. Well, we had a meeting here yesterday to figure out solutions, because Ms. Foltz was told that, she has 120 days. She doesn't fall under the right return because she came back 7 days early.
Thank you, Mr. Becky. Final two names on the list are Rayon Edwards and Yvonne Fulton, in that order.
Good evening, board. Tonight I want to talk a little bit about a young lady that I know, and her name is Justice Gatlin. She used to be a student with our district. And I want to thank you teachers that did give to that GoFundMe in honor of Justice Gatlin. 26 years old, on a flight going on vacation, and she had a seizure. Her mother is struggling right now to get the body back. But what's real disappointing in me is, as an ex-student of this district, as somebody that grew up in this community, to not know that none of you board members or administration has reached out is quite disgusting to me, y'all. And it's starting to be redundant. We show up everywhere there's cameras, but in those areas, it's not where it matters at. I want to echo what Mr. McIntyre said about that first reading. Y'all need to take that out. Y'all do. Take it out. The purpose of us going back looking at those policies was because of what happened to that young man being taken up out of our school building by the police, and this district, this administration failed to protect our child. And you guys had a policy in place. I don't know why his attorney didn't attack this district and ask them for the money, because y'all was more responsible than the police, because y'all allowed it to happen. Y'all did. I'm going to echo Mr. Sabecki. We investigating again yet people that look like me, African Americans, but Amanda Patty is still walking around here like ain't nothing happened. In fact, it almost like we rewarded her when we promoted her husband in security, who's never done it. We didn't look at all of the people that was already working security to see how we promote within, because that's what businesses do. Right, Miss Kathy? And now we've hired the same law firm that we got them from. But we calling this an independent investigation. And I'm going to say it because it needs to be said. It's like every time we turn around and there's an investigation, it's one board member in particular that we are always targeting. And it's the one that speaks up for this community and speaks out and challenges this board. And y'all always attacking her. Just like with the young man that got taken up out of the jail. She was the only board member that was named in this lawsuit, but there's 9 board members. Please tell me how that happened. And so we ain't talking about them academic scores, but we paying a superintendent $300,000+, deputy superintendents $200,000+, and our kids can't even read at grade level. The math is not mathing. And I'm holding you board responsible because y'all vote for everything that superintendent want, and everything that she want, the results are not showing. Disgusting.
Ms. Fulton, Yvonne Fulton.
Good evening, board. Board President, Deputy Sodario, the community. I just wanted to come up here because I'm really concerned about the board policy that's going through. I know I work for the district, and if that board policy goes in today, y'all can walk me out the door today for speaking today, right? I'm an at-will employee, so we don't have the same protections as the union. So I'm very concerned about that. Where do we go? Where do we speak up if we wanted to speak up? Because 9 times out of 10, when I come up here, I'm not speaking about myself. I'm speaking about the students in this district, right? These board policies, we agreed. I've been coming to these board meetings for 14 years since I've been in this district. Almost haven't ever missed one. Am I being silenced right now? I have never missed one. Now I'm here, and I probably won't be back for a while because of things that we say and we go back and not do. So these board policies were supposed to be looked at due to equity and the students. That's what we're going to look at first. And I would like council to also, if this is going to go into policy and y'all going to vote, please be explicit and tell us what our non-protected speech is. What can we not say, what we cannot do? Because I don't want to come up here thinking I'm doing a good thing and then be called in your office tomorrow and saying why I couldn't do this. So sometimes the communication doesn't get to us. It's like, oh, we didn't see the speeding sign, but you're still getting a ticket. So we have to read everything, and you're not explicitly telling us what we can and cannot do. So I'm standing here today to say we need to do explicit. We should have a right of freedom of speech. Right. I'm not understanding why we don't, regardless if we are employees or not employees. If I'm coming up here and I'm speaking for these kids and whoever we feel like, and I don't understand why we can't do that. Unless I'm reading this board policy wrong, please explicitly tell me I'm reading it wrong. But there's a whole paragraph. I've been at these board meetings for 14 years, longer than some of y'all been employed here. And I've never seen a gigantic paragraph. It's usually outlined a few words and we wordsmith and, do some wordsmithing about equity or what we need to take out, but a whole insertion of a paragraph, I need explanation because I need to know if I come up here, will I have my job tomorrow?
Thank you, Ms. Fulton. We appreciate all of those who came forward and spoke at public comment. All right, so we are now at our rest of our agenda. There's nothing under academics. We have a consent agenda under operations. These things are done in order to expedite the work of the board. They should be non-controversial and or previously discussed. And this is done to expedite the board. Any board member can ask for any item to be voted on separately. I just need the letter under consent agenda 11 operations.
I want to take out, I want to vote on on A.
Separately?
A, B, and E separately on the waivers.
individually. So Ms. Hannah, you want to do?
Well, no.
No. Let me ask. Do you want to do A, B, and E together, and we can approve those? And then,
Yes.
Yes, understood. So I have a motion from Ms. Hannah to approve items A, B, and E.
No, A, B,
D is in dog.
yes,
Oh, D.
Item A is in Adam. D is in dog. E as in Edward.
yes.
A, D, and E. That's the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Lensing?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, items approved, motion carries. Read those into the records. That's item A, approval of crisis prevention and intervention training CPI contract. D, approval of agreement with Midwest Salt for bulk salt. And E, approval of Hyde Park Elementary School teacher furniture. Now, Ms. Hannah, we got items B and C. Do you want to vote on each one of those separately, or are you okay with taking?
No, we can do it together.
Together.
I just wanted to vote on them. different.
Understood. Do we have any board members who are opposed to voting on items B and C together? If not, then I have a motion to, do I have a motion to approve items B and C?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
We need to stop, we need to look at these waivers for facility rentals. And the only reason I'm saying that is because there was a comprehensive effort that was done by the administration to put in the facility rental policy, procedures and everything. But ever since, it seems like, ever since that was put in, then everybody is still coming to get facility rental waivers. And so I'm kind of a little confused as to why we put the policy in place, but we are steadily doing waivers.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes, I would support this. We do look at these individually, and here you have two activities for our children after school. These are coaches who are working with our kids in sports. To me, this is very important. Our buildings are open anyway for cleaning, so we have custodial staff there on these evenings. We're not having to hire extra custodial staff. It allows the students, families, who are often not able to pay fees for these activities otherwise. By giving a waiver, we're able to let those kids participate for free, and the coaches themselves are many times are not getting paid a salary. So I support this type of thing, and I think we look individually at these waivers. These are certainly ones that I would recommend. Keeps our kids busy after school, lets them get off some steam, especially in the wintertime. During the summer, they can play outside, but here in the wintertime, they need to play these soccer games inside.
Ms. Fabian and then Ms. Hannah.
I agree with Mr. Riddle. The policy is there, and within the policy, it does state that people that are nonprofit or are not using the building, to any means, may apply for these waivers, and it is up to us as a board to decide whether or not we approve them. Again, I agree. Anything that is
Yeah, the microphone's up there and it went out.
Oh, sorry. So I was just stating that the policy does allow for anyone to come up and fill out this request. That is part of the policy, and it is up to us then to approve or deny them. I am of this same feeling of community schools and making sure that our schools are open and available for our community to use, especially for the purposes of allowing our students to have extracurricular activities that are free and no cost to them.
Ms. Anna.
Okay.
Sorry,
Mr.
and
Riddle,
I just want to, can you use the microphone, Ms. Anna?
Mr. Riddle, you said that these are our coaches?
No, I said these are volunteer. In most cases, these are volunteer coaches. They're community many of them are parents, but they're community members, and they're doing this for our children. We do have, by the way, some, when we look at these, for instance, the Lake County Community Concert Series.
Okay, well, you're
that
taking, you're honing in on my time, sir. I just asked a question.
Okay.
Okay, because I was going to say, if these are our coaches, how come these are not school sponsored activities?
So it's been clarified, they're not our coaches. So I support it. I want our kids in someplace safe. So as long as they follow the policy and the procedure, part of it was we had people that were going rogue. They were using our schools and in our schools, and there was absolutely no accountability as far as who was approving it. Somebody got hurt. We didn't know what was going on. People would show up and things were double booked. So I 100% agree with making sure that we know who's in our schools and doing this and voting on it publicly. I think when taxpayers are able to see just how much we've given back in facility rentals, is that something I'm proud of. We did it with Juneteenth. We partnered on other things. We heard a community organization this evening that has asked for us to partner. So I really look forward to doing these. I want our schools open more and longer. We do have a criteria, and to Ms. Fabian's point, the board can always vote no if they don't think that it would serve a value, or to Ms. Hannah's point, if the economic cost is such that it doesn't make sense, right? So these are taxpayer funds. I get all the arguments. I will be supporting these as I agree with keeping our kids someplace safe.
Well, we need to take and go back and review what that policy is looking like, because it's like it's contrary to our policy.
Yeah, so
for
maybe
facility rentals.
So we can bring that back for a conversation, because they are following the policy as it's currently rented. So I do agree with you, Ms. Hannah. It's always a good practice to bring up and review policy. So if that's something that the board would like us to review and look at, we can just make sure that we're touching base. But I will say that these were presented based on our current policy. With that, I'd like a roll call vote, please, for items 11, B, and C.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
I pass.
Ms. Lensing?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We are now, and I'll read those for the record. Item B, approval of facility rental waiver request for LHFC, and item 11C, approval of facility rental waiver request for Lions FC. We are now at purchases and contracts, which is the approval of Yeoman Creek ground lease and operations agreement, First Amendment lease extension request. If you can read that, Deputy Cesario.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education approve and authorize the board president to execute the First Amendment of the limited ground lease and the operations agreement with BQ Energy LLC for a lease extension at Yeoman Creek through December 9, 2024, as approved by the Yeoman Creek Remediation Group and as recommended by the board's Special Environmental Counsel.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Just glad to see that this is looking, even though it's an extension, of looking like it's going to move forward. And I'm so excited to see this development take place. So I'm happy to see we're at least making some effort to continue this.
I do appreciate this as well. Are there any other comments for the board?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. McBride.
I just want to say, after looking at and hearing Yeoman Creek for the last 8 years, from where we started off at, we done come a long way.
So don't be surprised by my past vote. While I am excited and want to see more green projects like this, I've been disappointed at the time that it's taken, as well as some of the stops and fits and starts. So while I'm glad to see it move forward, I personally will not be, like I said, I'm going to pass on it. Just these extensions, I know we've had it explained, but this is now another extension. So that's all I will say. With that, roll call vote.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
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 Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
No.
Ms. Lensing?
Pass.
President Ewing?
Pass. Item approved, motion carries. We're now at personnel items. So we got item 13A, approval to attend the Child Nutrition Conference in Orlando, Florida, January 14th through the 16th.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to allow Alicia Williams, manager of Child Nutrition and Transportation, to attend the School Nutrition Industry Conference in Orlando, Florida, January 14 through 16, 2024. The estimated cost is $2,300, which includes registration, travel, lodging, and meals per diem.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Mr. McBride. Any comments or questions on the motion?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Ms. Lindsay.
I just want to thank the timely submission for this request. Again, I'm going to keep nailing this in. The amount of time, this is January, we are in November, it's greatly appreciated. So thank you for being diligent on that.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay. Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
No.
Ms. Lansing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. Item 13B, approval of attendance at 2023 NAPSI 51st Annual Conference.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize Ms. Gwendolyn Polk, Associate Superintendent of Business and Financial Services, to attend the 2023 NAPSI 51st Annual Conference in New Orleans from November 29, 2023 through December 3, 2023. The estimated cost to attend the conference is $3,000, which includes registration fees, travel, lodging, and meals per diem.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
I do.
Go ahead, Ms. Fabian.
Same to Ms. Lansing's point, and it's something that we keep bringing up. If we can get these in a timely fashion, we know they're budgeted for. We know that they're coming up, but we know there's also cost savings when you do things earlier because it's coming up in a couple of weeks, it looks like. So just for also cost saving purposes, it helps us when these are in earlier.
Thank you, Ms. Fabian. Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
No.
Ms. Lansing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We got item 13C, approval of 7 new safety officer positions.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education approve 7 new safety officers for the Crisis Intervention and Safety Department to enhance security at Waukegan High School and middle schools, as identified in a safety and security assessment at an estimated cost of $284,102, including benefits.
So
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Any comments or questions on the motion? My only comment is I'm glad to see these move forward. I hope that we post them, if approved by the Board of Education, and begin the hiring process quickly. We already heard this evening about a request for after-school and evening events. We also know that we did an assessment, in a security assessment at the end of last year. These were some of the positions that were recommended. So again, as we talk about safety, this is a $284,000 investment. I want to call that out when people say that where is the money going. This is one of the items. So I do want to say, but to some of the comments that were made, we want to make sure when we're talking about training, it is one thing to have the bodies, it's another thing to make sure that they're being utilized and that they are properly trained. So I appreciate our safety department and just want to make sure that they have the resources and the support that they need. Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lansing.
So I'm just going to give an explanation as to why I'm going to be voting yes for this. I agree with the assessment that we need more people, but safety is not just in this department. Safety is also with our social workers and our guidance counselors and our psychologists, even our classroom teachers, right? So as we are stressing the importance of this agenda item to getting more people, qualified people in our buildings to support our students, it's a full circle. It's not just this one title in this one department. So I would like to see, thank you, larger urgency to fill those other positions that are going to keep our schools safe.
President Ewing.
And I just, for the record, Ms. Lindsay, you said yes.
Oh, I did say yes.
Okay, I just want
So I said I'm going to explain why I'm voting yes.
Okay.
So to be clear, yes.
Thank you.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We have item 13D, approval of the 21st Century Stars Community Grant Secretary position.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to approve the 21st Century Stars Secretary position to support implementation of the 21st Century Stars Community Grant.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Hannah, second by Mr. Riddle. Any comments or questions on the motion? Just glad to see this 21st Century Stars program going and continuing, and we want to make sure that they have the support and the resources that they need. Again, we have our grant writer here, and so they make sure that it's funded and that it continues to be funded. So I hope that the board will join me in supporting this initiative. Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lansing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We are now at item 13E, personnel for 11/14/2023.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education accepts the administration's recommendation to approve the appointments, retirements, and accept the resignations as found on schedules F1002, L949, and G660.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Yeah, hopefully at maybe the next board meeting or possibly student achievement meeting, that we can get an update in terms of our personnel, our teachers, and whatever other positions that we have, and how everything, at what status they are. So just the update.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Ms. Gonzalez?
Yeah, I had two comments. The first is I want to thank the administration for alphabetizing the list, because via that we can identify people who may be related and ask that question to resolve any conflict of interest, and just to be pointing those things out to us so that the board is aware and that we aren't having family members evaluate other family members, which I know is not the case, but we raise that question. And then the second thing is to just emphasize our school communities to alert the administration as soon as possible if people are not showing up to work, because it happens. But just encouraging especially young professionals to vocalize whether they can't commit to a job, and to do that in a timely manner, because it does affect our students and our ability to respond and fill our classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Seeing as there are no other comments or questions, roll call vote.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lansing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We now have a couple administrative appointments we'd like to highlight. Next slide. So typically the superintendent would do this, but I know she's ill, so we want to welcome Miss Alexandra Moore here to the district as a district translator. Miss Moore, are you in attendance? No, but welcome. Next. We have Derek Nickerson from Waukegan, who's coming back as a construction manager. So welcome, Mr. Nickerson.
Yes.
Usually come up.
Come on up. You know something.
It's up to you, though. It
If
is
you're
sixth
comfortable.
season, so your call.
Y'all can put him on the spot. So welcome. I can say thank you.
We appreciate it.
Next slide. And then we have Jesse Nickerson, who's a longtime District 60 employee, who'll be our Assistant Director of Operations. Congratulations, Mr. Nickerson.
Sit down.
You gonna wave at us too?
We all
All
know
right,
you.
thank you. All right, we appreciate that, and thank you to all of those who are coming, any of those that are retiring, and those who unfortunately have had to leave us. So thank you. We are now at item 16A, which are our financial reports. Ratification of the first processing of November 2023 board bills, manual check request payments, and Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of October 18th, 2023 through November 7th, 2023.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education ratify the first November 2023 processing of board bills, manual check request payments, and Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of October 18, 2023 through November 7, 2023. The accounts payable board payments for the period of October 18, 2023 through November 7, 2023 totals $4,616,078.75. The manual check request payments for the period of October 18, 2023 through November 7, 2023 totals $3,932,620.68. The Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of October 18, 2023 through November 7, 2023 totals $1,874,725.58.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
I'm going to say that I still have concerns about our financial reports, and so I'm going to vote no.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We are now at committee reports. Any committee reports at this time?
I'm still waiting invitations to join the committee. This is my third time asking, and I'm a bit frustrated. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, so those are administrators. Deputy Cesario, if you can take this back, can you check and see what the status is of the committees? I will remind the board, as we heard this evening, and it's not an excuse, but it is a reality, in that many of the people who had the communities are also the same individuals that have been engaged in negotiations. So I would hope that with us going into the holidays, we can get that schedule out to the board, is because many of them have to change their schedules to make sure that they can be at the meetings. And so we would like to see a calendar and to get those kick-started. So while I understand some of the reason or the rationale, I do want to remind us that we do want to get those going, because it's important work that those committees do, and the board members will need to plan in order to make sure that they can attend. So Deputy Cesario has noted that. Go ahead, Ms. Gonzalez.
Maybe just as a follow-up to Ms. Lensing's point, can we get an introductory email to the people who spearhead the committee, so that way we can also follow up? Yeah.
Thank you.
Board President.
Go ahead, Ms. Placencia.
Nick was getting something out to the whole board in general, which will have the committee members name who's leading the committee. My understanding that I thought that went out last week. You will have that by tomorrow.
Thank you, Ms. Placencia. Thank you. All right, delegates report, Ms. Anna.
Just that Thursday through Sunday, the board will be attending the State Board of Education III. All of the district schools in Illinois will be in attendance, board members, and we will be attending classes and learning stuff, kind of new stuff, and it's a very meaningful conference, and this kind of is my last chance to ask for board member input for the resolutions, in terms of how you all want me to represent the Board of Education in each resolution. And I guess you kind of have until Saturday morning, at the very, very latest, Saturday morning. I want to thank Mr. Riddle. He got the information to me, and I'm waiting for others' input. I don't want to go in there blind. I don't want to take it upon myself to vote how I want to vote, but I want to be representative of the board. So as soon as I can get that information, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Anna. We are now at item C. We got a superintendent's report.
Brandon, I gotta go to the restroom.
Good evening.
But I want to deal with that policy issue.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Patty.
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, members of the community, colleagues. Mr. Berry and I are here tonight to talk through our progress that our students have been making and the work that we have been working on with school leaders for the first quarter. First, we want to go over some highlights related to our elementary schools. Next slide, please. As you may know, our report cards for our elementary are standards-based, and so students receive a score of a 4, 3, 2, or 1 based on how they are performing towards grade level standards. And we have grades for ELA, which is our English Language Arts, Math, SLA, which is Spanish Language Arts, and we have provided the information related to how our students are currently performing kinder through 5th grade across the 4, 3, 2, 1 categories. Typically at this time of the school year, we are looking for students to be around, it is very normal for students to be at a 2 or a 3 because we know that they have not yet been exposed to all of the grade level standards because we want them to master those standards or be at those standards by the end of the school year. And so it's a traditional, I would say traditional, probably the wrong word, a normal scope of how students are performing across the school year. And as we have more data from quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4, we typically see students' progress across those those levels of 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase in their proficiency. Next slide, please. Some things that we've been really proud of this past quarter, we have been really happy to have all of the phonics and Tier 1 literacy programs that the board has approved through our teaching and learning department. We have the CKLA, the 95%, and the TIER, which are all of our Tier 1 phonics programs that help support students with word work, dictation, morphology, decoding, and phonics and phonemic awareness. This has been the first year we have had this across all K through 5, and so we are really been able to dig deeply into implementation with this and having the data available at our fingertips by grade level, by teacher, and by student to help support with enrichment and intervention planning for students. We've also been able to get weekly data generated from our everyday math program. We have been working with Mr. Matt Foster through teaching and learning to make sure that we have data that is applicable to individual students, classrooms, grade levels, and building as a whole to see how students are performing, which has really helped with coaching conversations, lesson planning, and reteaching plans based on math data. We've also been implementing professional learning cycles focused on specific strategies such as inquiry, teaching to student misconceptions, and small group instruction. And part of the practice with the professional learning is that teachers are able to see each other in action and learn from one another in peer visits. And so really taking advantage of the opportunity to learn from colleagues and see what's happening across the hall from each other and take those practices back to their classrooms. We've also increased our explicit writing instruction, and that is occurring daily in all classrooms. And so these strategies and action items that we have worked on with teaching and learning, we believe will be pointing us in the right direction for increased student success at the elementary level. Some examples of things that we have been able to utilize that we have now this year. We have sample, I know that's kind of small to see, it's just some screenshots, there's no student data identifying here. But at any given moment, what we are able to pull up according to a teacher or a grade level or a building, we can see how students are performing across different skills in our phonics program, which is the left-hand side, and on our math data on the right-hand side by standard. So it pinpoints the skills, the standards by student and by grade level, and helps us know where we need to hone in on additional interventions. If a student may not be at grade level yet in the orange or the red areas, as well as how to enrich our students. If they're already performing at that green or blue area, we don't want them to just be coasting through and given busy work. We're able to really pinpoint enrichment opportunities for our students with both sets of data for literacy and for math. Again, some of our professional learning we've been doing this past quarter at our elementary level, teaching to misconceptions, helping students speak to what their thought processes are as they're attacking math problems and trying to figure them out, hearing how they're approaching the work, and getting into their heads to help identify where they're having some errors. Doing a lot of writing instruction, as you can see in the middle, doing some data coaching. There's a sample data coaching template on the bottom. A lot of professional learning together. And then really on the top right are some opportunities for teachers to go in and see each other in action and provide non-evaluative peer-to-peer feedback. So there's some strategies that we've been implementing in our professional learning opportunities. Next will be Mr. Berry speaking about middle school. Thank you.
Good evening, Board. With the middle school, we have been specifically working with our own track criteria. We have a higher standard. We look at attendance, GPA, behavior, the NWA, reading and math, and the numbers of D's and F. Typically, the high school focuses on just the bag report behavior, grades, and attendance, but we have some tighter criteria because we're trying to get them ready for high school. Next slide, please. Here you will see the untracked progress for first quarter for all 5 middle schools combined. The on-track and low risk, those are the ones that we are working with that are on track for the high school, and then we're working with the others to increase their skill deficit. We have some special intervention groups going on, and one of the things with the Lewis new middle school schedule, that program is up and going, and we would invite you to come and see how that is working and operating, where we're intentionally giving those remediation skills, those that are missing from elementary. We're trying to catch them up and move it fast paced. Next slide. This slide shows you our tracker for every middle school students. You don't see their names or anything here, but the same format with elementary. We highlight red, yellow, green, and orange, so we'll know in each of those 6 indicators where they need support, and this helps the ILT and the MTSS team drill down on each individual student. In this program, the principals in the team can also click at the very top, and it can resort the data in any way they need to look at it or export it. Next slide, please. This is the same by grade and criteria for all of the core subject, and we know that you all like to see the percentage and the numbers of students, so we did that for the first quarter grades for all the core subjects, math, ELA, science, and social studies.
For the boards in the community who are used to an A, B, C, D, F grading system, what does I represent?
I is incomplete. Like if we had a student that just moved in the last week of the quarter, we can't give a grade, so we have to do the incomplete.
100%. I just want to make sure that the board is aware in the community of what that means. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. Hannah.
Yeah, can you explain, okay, the how you all came up with the figures? Are they for all of the schools that you combine these numbers?
Yes, that's for all 5 middle schools. We can break it out individual by each middle school, but that's the same way we did it with the elementary, so we just combined all 5 middle schools together and pull the data that way, but we can do it individually.
Yeah, because it's kind of, you don't want to misrepresent the numbers, because you know, you don't want to say that that this is like just one school. People looking at it that are not, that's what they're going to
think is one school. I'm sorry,
right.
But that's all 5 middle school data combined.
Yeah, and
clarifying question, Ms. Gonzalez.
Yeah, and it's kind of adding to Ms. Hannah's point. And for the future, when I see graphs like this, it would be nice to know the total number of student and as of date, so that we know that, you know, it's 28% of the entire student body that's taking, you know what I mean, like the total number versus like the percentage of the number that it's coming from?
Yes, we're looking at about 5,800 students altogether for middle school, and then at the bottom you'll see the grand total for each category. But remember, middle school has 6 classes, 6 grades for each class. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and seeing there's people that don't understand this graphing, you know, and how you all combined all the schools into this one little graph here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. And these are just some of the action items that we're working on. Lewis is doing the model schedule this year. It was voted on last year, and so they have a different schedule than all the other middle school. It has different hallways transition. It has the separate intervention classes that we're working on. Also, the middle school and the principal are really working and focusing on the IoT and MTSS team, and we're doing several other things with the On Track to make sure that we're making sure that we're going. The literacy is our main focus for the year, and we're also working with leadership development with those teams as well. Thank you.
All right, and finally, our high school level Q1. Currently, this is our breakdown of our grade levels, how they are performing on and off track. Again, off track is failing more than one core course at the high school level. So the core classes, again, are literacy, math, science, and social studies. So these students have one core failure or less. And so you can see going across by grade level, we have about 72, ranging between 72 and 82% of our students who are considered on track across 9, 10, 11, and 12. Next slide.
Can you put the numbers next time with that?
Absolutely, no problem. Again, looking at our 4 core courses, this is a breakdown of how our students are performing within the different core classes. You can see the percentage of students. We can add the total numbers for how students are performing with A's, B's, C's, D's, F's, as well as the incompletes, so that you can see how our students are performing in content areas. Some of the action items we've been able to take this past quarter that we are really excited about continuing for the rest of this semester, going into second semester. We have been implementing instructional rounds, which is an opportunity for department chairs, building level administrators, and coaches to work side by side to calibrate around how to provide feedback related to what they're seeing in the classroom, to work with the teachers. We have been working with teaching and learning to have written and aligned curriculum guides for all of our core courses. One of our proud bright spots for this current year is we have freshman success teams that have been implemented this current year with that work from Network for College Success. Last year we were in not practicing yet for many of our categories because it was a new practice and we were kind of just getting the teams organized. And across every category that we have done progress monitoring on from teacher survey results across all of our teams, we have moved our practices from not practicing yet to emerging and practicing. So definitely seeing growth over time in terms of how we are teaming, how we are looking at student work, student data, and collaborating as a team. Department chairs and administration are working with these grade level teams to identify students who need support, and we develop action plans with each team that are monitored in a 3-week cycle. We are collaborating with teaching and learning to further identify literacy and math interventions for students who have more significant gaps in their foundational skills. And we have been able to continue to provide academic interventions by certified content teachers and have started peer tutoring this year. Again, super small to see, but a sample of the work from the high school teams is just a screenshot here for reference, a sample of the 3-week cycle that grade level teams are working on, and then the increase in the implementation moving towards emerging and practicing and moving away from not yet practicing for our freshman success teams. Thank you.
Pleasure. So I see 2 hands, so I'll hold my questions. I'll go Ms. Fabian and Ms. Lindsay.
Just a couple of questions, and actually one is more of an area of concern. I know you guys will eventually go granular with the data to check out each middle school, because my concern is that when over 50% of the students are not on track for high school, are there enough interventions? Are there enough strategies? Are supporting? Because look at that 50%, a third of those are 8th graders that are going to be there in 3 quarters, right? So to that as well, when we're going granular and we know that Lewis has a new implementation, are we able to then look at that, extract that data and see, are they doing better, worse, no different than the other middle schools, to ensure that we are getting them on track for high school, because we know that leads then to them being on track to graduate high school. Also looking at the high school, same thing. I'm looking at, from what I looked at really briefly, about 39% are getting D's and F's. And so that's where I'm very concerned. Do we have enough intervention? Do we have enough support for the teachers? And are we going granular to see if it's a specific teacher, is it a specific school, et cetera? And then the other concern is just also ensuring that we're explaining to our parents that 1 through 4 model. I know it's very complicated. I actually was surprised to see so many 3s. I thought that was, for me, 25% a quarter is a lot to be already meeting the standard, which is, I mean, that's great if that's what our kids are doing. But really having parents understand that 2 is a good thing. It's an okay thing to have right now in first quarter. So just, those are my concerns.
Okay. And like I said, this is the first quarter with Lewis. We're waiting to see how those results are doing. We have had some of the students that have came for the remedial service. They have moved out, so they're constantly testing them and moving them out. And so we're looking forward to see this work and expand it to all of our middle schools.
I don't know where that murmuring's coming from, but if we could get that turned off, that'd be great. While that's being worked on, so
That's the superintendent, maybe she needs to mute.
Yeah, so I know she was watching on YouTube and following along. So if we can either turn that down temporarily or get in touch with the superintendent to let her know. I don't know if she can hear. All right.
okay. Sorry. With just for a point of clarification, when you're collecting the numbers for all of the students with their different grades, this is just within a system that we have that's a quick download of a report, right? We're not manually tabulating anything. It's systems we're currently using. And that's just to confirm and verify. So just to touch back on disaggregating the schools, in addition to what Ms. Fabian has said, it allows us as a board to identify our schools properly budgeting for their upcoming year. Because if they have a lot of students that aren't meeting the standards, they're going to need more funding to address those components. So if we don't have that on here in this report, we're going to be blindsided because we don't know where it's coming from, right? We want to know so that when they come and ask for additional funding that's outside of their budgeting, we already know why, and we're cutting down on asking questions as to why is this just coming to us now. With the action items and next steps, that portion, can you just help me understand, is it something that we are currently doing or planning to do?
They are items we are currently doing, but we're going to be continuing as next steps as well, so we can continue to refine areas that we still need to dig deeper on, but they are current actions that we are taking.
Okay, because action items is something to do, and next step is what we're going for. So if we're going to have a blended piece, then maybe say how we're going to push it forward explicitly so that it is maximized in a sense. When it comes to peer tutoring, how are we supporting those students that are doing the peer tutoring? Because you can't just throw someone in and say, okay, help this person with their math homework. It's like, oh,
Correct.
So what do those supports look like?
Sure. So it's relatively new, so I can get some more additional details back to the board. Ms. Rodriguez Gonzalez at the Brookside campus has been working with her freshman and sophomore students to work on this, so I can give some additional details to you related to how we're supporting the students, how they're using them on their off periods or their lunch periods, and making sure that they're not just thrown into the resource center with no guidance. But I can get some additional details for you. I don't want to speak off turn.
Okay. And then I am actually really excited to hear how it goes with the block schedule over at Lewis for our students. When I was student teaching, that was
Schedules
part
are
of my
great.
experience. So I'm just curious to see how our community or our students react to that. In terms of the students that are on track, what are we doing to push them further? Because we've heard families talk about their students that aren't getting the supports when they're performing low, but we also have families where students are excelling and they need to be pushed beyond their current circumstances.
One of the nice, I'll have Mr. Berry speak to the middle school lens, of course. At the elementary level, we have looked at our win time, which is our what I need time, and making sure that students are changing teachers, going across the hall, not just having a separate independent practice by themselves where they're just kind of doing busy work. I'm really thinking through if we're both first grade teachers, second grade teachers, you're going to take some of the students who are ready for a little bit more of a challenge, utilizing some of our paraprofessionals, utilizing some of our resource teachers, our instructional support teachers. In some instances, the instructional support teacher may be taking the high group, so the classroom teacher who sees the student all day long can take the students who may need more support. And so looking at all of our available manpower to make sure that we're providing enrichment as well as intervention throughout the course of the day is something we've been implementing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my question, and I guess real quick, not to pile on, but with Miss Fabian is the standards-based grading. While we've been doing it for a few years, it is still a paradigm shift for our community. Even myself as a parent who understands it, the 1, 2, 3, 4 type of system, right? To talk to a teacher, for her to say, all the student is doing everything that they're expected to do, but they get a 2, right? We have to be very, very clear about what it means and why that 2 is there. Is because you have students who you want your kids to perform, and we see that one number as parents in this community with understanding a traditional ABCDF model and associate 1 or 2 or even 3 with there's something wrong with my student. My student is not performing at what their expectations are. So I just want us, because I know even at parent-teacher conferences, some of the conversations I've had with other parents, is that something that is still not it's new. Newer. We've been doing it for a number of years, but parents are used to A, B, C, D, and F. So that's the takeaway. The other takeaway is related to kind of what Ms. Fabian said, as well as our tools. I know we have virtual classroom, other ways in order to get those students with that freshman on track number, but at 72% going out of first quarter, what are we doing in order to adjust it? And then really, if our students need the additional time, are we having that conversation with parents or planning to have that conversation with parents about summer school? I think a lot of times we've decreased the number of credits as a board. We've done some other decisions to address that number. And what I'm saying is our kids do have to know that they're, and summer school is not a consequence, but if they need the additional time in order to be up to grade level, in order to pass those classes, based on these numbers, based on where our freshmen are, there's not enough time, even in their current schedule, for them to be able to make up those failed grades at this point. So we really need to be proactive in having those conversations with families before Christmas break or after Christmas break about we really encourage your child to take advantage of the summer school, and this is why. I think a lot of times our parents aren't knowing about it, and we're moving the kids forward, and we talked about that. I get to go to a different building. I'm a junior, and not a junior. You got freshman credits, and you haven't taken the necessary classes in order to be able to attain that sophomore or that junior or that senior status. So I really want us to be intentional this year. We see the data. We know it. You don't have to explain it. I do want to see it disaggregated by school, but you don't have to, like, some of these kids, there isn't the opportunity in their current schedule. So I'll pause there to say we now have this data. Let's start having those proactive conversations, especially with our freshmen, so that the parents are not then blindsided in May when we tell, or April, right, when we tell them that your child needs to retake this class, or we're encouraging them to go to summer school. And let's not make summer school punitive, because the same way that we talk about the enhancement is for a lot of our students, they could be earning additional credits, they could be taking some of those classes and knocking them out and really being put on the pathway. I know Ms. Fulton is, embracing that dual enrollment. Summer school is an opportunity to get our kids so that they can earn extra credits so that they can be ready for dual enrollment. So I'll pause there just to say thank you guys for honing in on this data. Thank you for presenting it. We hope that you take the information and come back so we can see the report with those suggestions. But yeah, I do appreciate it. Ms. Fabian.
Just for transparency's sake, that is the work that we are doing, is looking at that.
Can you use the mic? I'm sorry, Ms. Fabian.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Just for transparency's sake, that is the work that we're doing while we're looking at the promotion policies at summer school piece. So a lot of the stuff that you've stated are conversations that we've also been having, and I will definitely.
Board Policy 18A. This is a first reading for 2102, conduct of board meetings. If we can get the policy there. So last time it was for discussion. That was why we talked about it. It's here now as a first reading. Can we bring it up? Can you open it, Mr. White? Scroll. Keep on scrolling. So this was the suggested language for discussion or debate or action. An agenda item for vote is open for discussion or debate by the board members. Once a motion has been made or seconded, for each agenda item, members shall be limited to speaking twice for no more than a total of 5 minutes, unless by a 2/3 vote of the members present. The member is given leave to speak further. Upon a call for the vote, the discussion shall close. The vote be taken without further commentary. So at this point, I really, for the sake of time, just want to go down the line to see if there are any specific questions on the inclusion of this, or if you want to give a brief remark on your stance. Again, this is a first reading, so there is no action that's being taken. I'm going to go this way. Ms. Fabian.
I don't think this really limits anybody much because it's 10 minutes per item. So it's 70 minutes when you take account to all of us. And if you have 10 items, that's 700 minutes. So I don't really feel like this limits people. But again, it goes back to holding each other accountable, that if this is put into place, that we are holding each other accountable to that.
And this is for members of the board, right? The same public is, so I just want to clarify that. Ms. Lindsay.
So earlier we had some conversation around the football clubs and the waivers, right? And so we had a back and forth dialogue between two of our board members. Had Mr. Riddle wanted to comment further, he wouldn't have been able to. The thing with conversation is that you can't predict where the conversation is going to go. Right. So when you want to limit it to 2 times, that handicaps us. And when we talk about accountability, we should be doing that to each other. And I'm a bit confused as to why this is still in here, because my understanding was if we're having a hard time upholding board protocols and we're going to put it in a policy, we're going to put something into place that we're just going to violate. So I am not a proponent of it. I feel that I handled my questions appropriately. If I had issues with another board member on how they conduct themselves, I would have that conversation outside of the board time in front of the public.
Ms. Hannah.
I don't know why we spend so much time trying to corral adult people instead of making policies for educating our students. So I'm not a proponent for this. All of this new wave stuff is not, it's not working, first off. And each and every one of us up here are over 18 and 21 years old. And you, in terms of trying to stifle or muffle people's right to speech, freedom of speech, I'm not a proponent of it, and in any kind of way. So,
thank you, Ms. Hannah. Mr. McBride.
You know, well, this board, I guess, is not the only board that has this policy in place. We have a county board, which I did not know before I even brought it up myself, that have this same policy. They do pretty well with it, and I think they conduct business, and they continue to move forward and get things done. But once again, I think a lot of it is because of the fact the podium there, when we have our employees come up and they bring us information, it seems to me, you know, just from my observation, that pretty much every employee come up there get analyzed, scrutinized, and questioned about any effort they go out and come back and bring to us concerning any situations. I mean, whatever the situation, just my observation from sitting here watching. And sometimes I think that being redundant like that every meeting, to me, it just don't make no sense. And when I say, I'm not saying one meeting, I say every meeting.
Mm-hmm.
There's always, when they go up there, they're scrutinized and questioned on everything. And sometimes I say to myself, if I'm the professional that knows all about what LeBaron does, so to speak, in terms of maintenance, putting boilers in, roofing and everything, if I got to question everything that he does, maybe I need to step down off the board and take that job. And I think in board language, they call it balcony versus the dance floor. And we do a lot of dance flooring instead of standing in the balcony where we belong. And that's just my observation of being around on this board as for the last 12 years. I understand the fact, you know, when you want to be seen and being heard. I understand that very well. And so therefore, you know, for myself, I'll speak up about something that I think that's really pressing, that really has some credence behind it. But for me to challenge my employees that I hire about business that they take care of every time they come to that podium, I don't think it's right. And as a matter of fact, to me, it's undermining them. But so that's my stance. Again, like I said, we're not the only board. We're not the only board that have this policy in place, and we're no different than the county board and some other boards. They do well, but so I mean that's where I'm at. So I know we all adults, but at the same time, sometimes I think, you know, it's more to it than just being adults sitting up here at this podium, from my observation and watching and listening.
Thank you, Mr. McBride. Mr. Riddle.
Yes. I found myself during this meeting that we have today conscious of this procedure, this rule of, you know, rules of procedure, and as was discussed today, I realized, you know, I need to limit my discussion to 2 items, you know, twice on any one item. And I was watching to see that others did it. So to me, this is important because we have a lot of business to conduct in our district. And these are action items. We've discussed them already in committee. We've read them on notes. I think we can cut our specific questions because we need to take action on this. It forces us to be concise. So I support what we're doing here. I think we're trying to improve the efficiency of our meetings. And as Mr. McBride has mentioned, as others have mentioned, we're not the only ones that limit member discussion on action items. It's done in the county board. It's done in government. Why is it done? Because it improves the efficiency of the board. And that's what we're trying to improve. All of us have talked many times with our district representative of how we can improve and professionalize our board. And I think this is something we can hold ourselves through. Yeah, and we ultimately, if we put this in policy, it's something we strive to. You know, we don't necessarily, the board president isn't necessarily going to cut us off right at the clock. But it's something we strive to do. So I think it's important as a board. We've discussed it many times with our reps. I think we should leave it in there.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle. Ms. Gonzalez.
I'm not a proponent of including the paragraph. I know and I understand and I totally sympathize and have been one of the people that also advocate for more efficient meetings. Like our ISB rep consistently says, the board meetings are a meeting in public, aside from our committee meetings in which the public can ask questions. So I just don't see the value in going back and forth about including it. I think that there's a lot of distrust already. But I did include specific language that I want added to the rest of the policy to kind of speak to the spirit of efficiency and to make some things tidy up language and to make things more concise. So I feel like those edits that I submitted through email earlier might be better solutions than including a 5-minute limitation.
And so, while I appreciate, and I know Mr. McBride, as he was looking at ways in order to expedite the work of the board. So it wasn't done with an intention to place a gag order. It was done with an intention to make sure that we're being thoughtful about our time. For the same reasons that I vocalized at our last meeting. I know Ms. Vanderbroek wasn't present, which is why this came forward as a first reading, is to get actual board action as far as what you want the legal office to do. I don't support the addition of it, and why I don't is because even in the current board agreements, when we talk about accountability, some of the other things, in the heat of the moment, I don't really believe that this board will respect my authority as the board president to be able to even administer or follow the policy. That's a clear statement. I'm saying it to all of us. So I don't agree with the addition. I do agree with the intent, Mr. McBride. And so I think we will, as Ms. Gonzalez said, she has some language that she's proposed, which I think would be, again, the board will either decide if they want to admit it or they don't. But she did put some thought into it. With that, it's 4 that are saying they don't want it added. There are 3 that saying they do. Therefore, a majority. So if it comes forward with a second reading, it wouldn't be presented with this language included. If we can scroll down, agreements is a technical change, and I think that was the only major one that we still had to discuss. They did update the law. I do want to highlight that. Unexpected child care obligations, that's super important. Even this board, and I like that it's not responsive to gender, but it is being reflective of that there are more parents in general that are serving in public service. And so I appreciate this addition. Executive system, right, technical changes. Keep scrolling, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Perfect. So it'll come forward with a second reading, and if the board decides to move forward, we will be able to do so. If we can go to the next policy. We are at 19B, Board Policy 2203, Board Member Development, third reading.
Or was it 18B?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go back. I want to make sure I got it.
Yeah, 2104 is where we're
18B,
at.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
18B, Board Policy 2104, Citizen and District Employee Participation at Meetings. Technical change, scroll down, please.
How did this even come up? What prompted this, Mr. President?
Yeah, that was gonna be my question too.
What prompted this?
Looking
for this policy to be brought forth with changes like this? What prompted this?
I'd like for it to be held over, Brandon, where we can have some more discussion on it.
That's exactly what we're doing right now. This is
Okay.
not a vote.
Yeah.
This is information. It's to give
Okay,
guidance.
thank you.
Kathy,
We can
can you
have some
speak
more
to what brought
discussion
it
on this.
forward?
What happened? And
Sure. This was part of the request to provide some proposals for the board to consider to address efficiency of public meetings. To the section in here in particular around the definition of what are comments of public concerns related to employee speech. That is a statement of the current state of the law coming from Supreme Court cases. It's not an attempt to gag speech. It is a clarification in the rules and regs of references already in the policy and in place related to public employee comments being focused on matters of public concern. So adding that paragraph was to provide information as to how is the law treating what is a matter of public concern. It's not a black and white definition, but that is how it is phrased in terms of the rules in the law.
Can I ask a
Kathy,
point
may
of
I ask-
clarification on that? So when you say the law and the cases, I don't see those documented for the source. So if you could provide the board members with that,
Please,
that would be
'cause
helpful.
yeah. 'Cause I'd
I
like to see
certainly can do that as a matter of practice. The board policies have not cited all of the relevant cases that can support it, but I'm more than happy to provide both the citation and a copy of the case.
It's not even relevant because, I mean, people, if our employees.
So, Ms. Hannah, I want you to take the first comment then. So after this, I'm gonna go down and hear from the rest of the board. I just wanted you to know that. And then if you could speak into the microphone, please.
As far as our employees, they're the public too, and they have more vested in the school district than being told what they can and what they cannot say. And if we want to use all of this technical stuff, this technicality with the law and all of that stuff, I think that's doing, as they say, doing a little bit too much, because the staff should have an outlet, should be able to come to their board of education and voice their opinions, voice their dissatisfactions, whatever they want to. And this is after work hours. And so why are we trying to tell them what they can say and what they cannot say? And then we're going to toss up the salad with the law and say that they can't say something. You know who? I mean, again, why is this even coming forward?
Yeah. So Kathy can restate that one.
No,
and then
yeah, I
if we
heard
can,
what you said.
if we
It
can
don't
scroll
even make
down,
sense.
Mr. White, to the section in question, and then after you answer, I'm starting at that end this time and coming back. I just want to get a
This isn't
concurrence.
really an answer, it's just a clarification, because Mrs. Hannah's question is a fair question to ask, and it is something for the board to consider, but this is just a clarification. When you look at a matter of public concern, employees are still able to talk about that. What this does and what the law does is differentiate when it's about an employee's specific employment situation, their specific duties. There are alternative means by which the employee can pursue those concerns through progressive problem solving, through the line of responsibility policy, or through their unions and the grievance process and procedure there. So it is differentiating the individual matters from those of public concern, which is broadly defined in the definition, and it's why it's not a black and white definition either. What constitutes a matter of public concern? You really have to look at the totality of what is being brought, and whether that is an issue of concern, it would be for the board president to manage that in the course of public comment and make that judgment call. And certainly to the extent that further training and information is helpful to staff and employees and others, we can offer that should this go forward. But I do want to reiterate the policy already speaks to that differentiation being in there. The incorporation in this was to make the policy more informative and clearer on what is and is not within the context of a matter of public concern. So it's not changing the policy language in that regard.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Oh, we're starting with me.
Yeah, so I'm starting that time. Sorry, this time.
Well, can we go up to the? Are we gonna?
I thought we had consensus on the first part. You want to redo it?
Well, yeah.
Go scroll up, Mr. White.
Or can I send an email with edits because?
I want you to put it on the book so that they're aware.
Okay, I will be sending an email, just as I did for the other policies. Generally, you know, everyone who speaks to the podium, and we already talked about this, I guess tidied up speech here presented, I'll reformat it, maybe suggest something different, but everything that's been spoken to in the past kind of already is or falls under the scope of what's presented here. So anything student related with programs, services, activities, concerns, maybe that's the word that we want to add in there to make people feel like, good, bad, indifferent, whatever you're saying at the podium is being heard, whether, it's positive or not, we're taking it into consideration. And Mr. White, you can go back down. In regards to the second piece, I think some of what is concerning certain folks in relation to this is more of, I think it's the sentence like employee comments associated with their specific duties, which are not protected speech. So I think if that's the area that we want to troubleshoot so that people are, do not feel like they're being silenced and that they could advocate for their concerns if they have experience that can speak to that. I think that there's a way to balance the expectation that we don't expose the district to liability, which we have done as a board, and we need to be very careful about because we are a public body, a taxing body, and we do want to lessen our exposure in regards to litigation. But people also have the right to speak to the things that concern them, and there's a way to do that publicly. And we definitely hear it, but balancing our responsibility as the body.
So you will provide suggestions, but I want to get clarity on, do you, as it's currently written, or the intent, do you kind of...
The intent I support. I think we need to be serious about it because we are wasting money. And I hope that people respect that. I know that people don't understand that, but we are wasting money.
Could you explain that?
No, Ms. Hannah, not at this time, but I'll email you, okay? I will.
Mr. Riddle?
Yeah, generally, I think this is educational for us and for the public. And I read this and I heard the concerns of the public during comment as well. But I think this is generally, it's pretty broad, and it allows people, it helps them focus on their comments, that the board, what the board wants to hear, and what the law tells us we should do as a board. We can't, as a board, deal with every personal problem or personnel issue that arises. And so this is telling the public generally what public comment is for. So I don't think this is too far off the bat. As Ms. Gonzalez has said, I think we can tweak some of this, but it does say generally under the 3-minute thing, speakers should limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes, and comments should focus on a current board agenda item, district initiatives, or district or student-related program services or activities. I mean, that's pretty broad. And then it even goes into Part B is not being changed. It talks about individualized complaints there. So that hasn't been changed. We're not adding anything there or changing what was already there. And then when we get down to the new section, matters of public concern, again, I think this could be tweaked a little bit so that we're not alarming our employees, but it feels to me like this is matters of individual grievances are not supposed to be addressed in public. Those are supposed to, we deal with those in private as a board. So we don't want those issues of individual concerns brought publicly because we're not able to discuss them publicly. So all we're doing is advising the public what public concern, what public comment is about. So I think this needs to be tweaked a little bit, but I don't think it, and we certainly don't want it to be alarming to the public or to our employees, but I think it should stay there.
It is.
So, Ms. Ann, I'm going to go through the rest of the board, and then if you still have a comment
Yeah,
at
I
the
do
end.
have a comment.
So, perfect. But I'll go through the rest of the board. Mr. McBride.
Well, unlike the last policy, I brought it to the board's attention because of the fact of the time of the hour and stuff we was leaving here, so I knew why I did that. But with this policy, I don't know how it came about and why, but apparently I want to probably say it maybe came from my attorney for several things that has happened in the past. And what those things are, I don't know, but I know at this point, I'd like to know why this came up, and maybe it will help me in the near future to understand why this policy needs to be put in place. But right now, I don't know and I don't understand it, so until I get some clarification about it, as opposed to why this came about. But at this point, I'm going to pass.
All right, Miss Lindsay.
My preference is to be a very blunt and direct person. So when we're looking at these policies in this edition, the example you brought up, Board President, was the goal is to make sure someone doesn't get up to this podium and read from the dictionary for their 3 minutes. That's their right. That is their right. If they want to use their 3 minutes to read from the dictionary, read from the dictionary. You have my attention. This language is very concerning, and if we haven't had issues in the past, putting it in this language is dismantling trust. We trust people in this community to come to this podium and use their voice to advocate for themselves, their student, their department, their athletic, whatever it is. And I would hate to be a part of restricting someone's speech. When it comes to this matters of public concern with regard to our staff, Ms. Gonzalez, if you don't mind sending me an email as well, just so I have a clear picture of what you're seeing and what you're understanding. I've had a lot of staff members tell me that they are concerned raising their issue through these channels. And until we get that cleaned up, I'm not going to support this. If we are doing right by people, we shouldn't have litigation.
That's right.
Right? Like that's how I see it. Maybe I've got rose-colored glasses on. Maybe I'm a bit naive with my perspective on the world, but if you treat people right, you do right by them. If there's a conflict, you work through it. And it doesn't have to get to litigation. So this is very concerning to me. I am not in support of it.
Ms. Fabian.
I think I know where Adriana's going, and if so, I'm agreeing, and I kind of understand where you're going with the dollars and the cents. For me, I think this also clarifies if this is law that it's not protected speech. I think employees should be aware of that and should know that that is the case, so that should they say anything, they already come in with that understanding. But to Ms. Fulton's point, when she comes up, she doesn't come up on her own. She's advocating for others. So that would not fall under this. But having our employees be aware that something that they say up there, could be, would not be protected, I think it serves also to protect them to understand that. So that's why I think clearing this up and maybe, to Adriana's point, adding some additional language so that employees understand that they are still allowed to come in and give clear concerns, and that those individual case-by-case situations are not for that podium, because at that point, it's a one-way street. We can't respond. We can't do anything. So for this matter, I think we need to just kind of clean up the language, make it very clear, but I think it also helps to protect our employees to understand when they're up there.
Go ahead, Ms. Anna.
I think y'all chasing the rabbit, because I've been sitting here. I have not heard anybody, any staff member, come to that podium and say anything about anything personal. It's always been advocating for the children's situations that are being that they're facing as a whole, not as an individual. And so this is again, I heard it said, it is just adding another layer of distrust, and we are the culprits. if we put something like this in here. It hasn't been in there before to restrict our staff. Who wants to restrict the staff from talking? And if those people that want to restrict the staff are here, maybe they need to be the ones to move it on. Because we don't do that here.
And that's the piece, right? Is if we're going to have these conversations in public, we got to have them in public. I don't support this edition as it's currently written. I think when we talk about people knowing their rights and that it's not protected speech, is there a way to do it by also affirming the fact that we want to hear from them? Heard from Ms. Lindsay, they don't feel supported going through the appropriate channels, and they feel the only recourse that they have is to come to the board meeting. I don't want to stifle, and if the intent, it doesn't matter my intent if the impact is such in which it goes and they feel that what we're trying to do is to take away their voice. So if it can be recrafted, made to be clear, it seems like, and not it seems, actually, there are 4, so 2 who say make it cleaner, 1 that supports it as written, myself, Mr. McBride, who said it'll pass until he understands more. Ms. Lindsay and Ms. Hannah don't currently support it as it's written. So this is a first reading. I want to go back to knowing that said this has to be, the Board of Education makes this decision. And so I have to get back to not mischaracterizing people's intent, not saying that people are trying to hide or do things. I think they were, in their mind, solving the problem that they were asked to solve, right? Looking at case law in order to make suggestions and make it cleaner. We don't agree with it. We can change it. I keep telling us that all the time, is that is in our power. So thank you to all you guys who are speaking up. I will say, if you feel, Kathy, that it's important to have this section, then it needs to be brought back as a second reading, cleaned up. If it is not important, right, to the actual reading of the policy, then there's a majority that actually are okay with eliminating it or leaving it off.
Sorry, point of clarification. Before we get the second reading is when I would like to receive the case law information. Absolutely. Well in advance, not it's a day before and now we got the meeting and here we are.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other changes related to that item? All right. So next up, if we can go back to the agenda, we have board policy 3515 electronic signatures. This is the second reading. Adriana, remind me, did you have any updates for this one?
Yeah, I had updates for this one too, just to clean up the language, especially at the beginning, and then wait, pause.
Yeah, you can go all the way up. Oh, yeah, thank you.
Hold on. So on the first page, I numbered it as well. On the first page, it was more of the introduction that I wanted to recraft just for conciseness. And then in the rules and regulations there, you can keep going down. Pause. Keep going down a little bit. Yeah, slowly. Keep going down. Okay, pause here. I think I had a. I think I had a
delete
comment.
second period at the end of requested.
Yes, it was more. It was more grammar and related to the acceptance of the electronic signatures, I think.
So
and that was it.
For Board of Ed, the reason I didn't do motion second is we're going to make a change that is more than just technical, so I want to bring it back for a third reading.
Mhm.
But it is clarification. It was the only one I believe that I received. Correct me if I'm wrong. But conducting business electronically is an increasingly common and accepted practice that expedites transactions, saves costs, and conserves important records for the district. So she wanted that added to kind of just attest to the fact that we are moving into the 21st century.
Yeah, the first sentence.
And so we will, that would be the only change. And I guess we could do a motion and insert it today, but I would rather it come back as a third reading.
Yeah, I'd rather it come back.
Yeah.
Do you want us to send in those grammatical changes, or is somebody proofreading this? Because there's a few in there.
Yeah, I think some of
We'll
them were
proof it
grammar.
again. But
Those were my
if
only
you see them offhand,
I
happy to
read that.
take them
Mhm.
and have proofreaders. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, if we can go back up to the screen, so that was coming back, that change as a third reading. And then we have B, Board Policy 2203, Board Member Development, third reading. Policy held over, continued discussion by the board, reflect changes, training required by law, general cleanup of policy language.
I had a question.
Go ahead, Ms. Lizzie. I didn't take a motion, and that's because I want to know if what your suggestion will require us to come back for fourth reading, just for clarification. It could or could not. I want you to ask it, but I didn't. We haven't motioned and seconded from a, what do you call it? Before discussing. What's the procedure that we normally? So, go ahead, Ms. Lindsay.
I'm actually really excited for the addition of mandated reporting, and so I'm just wanting to know when this is passed, how soon we're going to go ahead and get that training in place for us.
So what I'll do then, did you have any changes for this one, Ms. Gonzalez?
No, but I wanted to raise if we're seriously, because I know it was brought up in the last meeting, and I know that there was a kerfuffle, but if there is a desire to limit the number of board member development opportunities, it would be now in this policy to include it. My motto or philosophy has been to lead by example. I don't want to limit employees if I don't include limitations on myself. So that was the only question I would raise. I wouldn't be in favor now, given that there's no consensus, but yeah.
So are you in support of the policy as currently written?
Yes.
And so then, Ms. Lindsay, given that you're excited about it, would you be so kind as to make the motion?
Is this that limited?
No.
No. That was just the question I raised. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and so just to comment on that, we could always come back to this as we get other policies put in place to adapt it to match as that comes up, so we'll avoid the kerfuffle. But I move that we go ahead and approve this policy as written.
Motion by Ms. Lindsay.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any other comments or questions related to the motion?
I got
Can
a
you read
comment,
the
Brandon.
recommendation? I apologize officially for the record. Mr. Cesario, can you read the recommendation? You can read it from the screen if it's easier. 19B is the
Yeah.
item.
Okay, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the amendments to Board Policy 2203 as set forth in third reading.
So we had a motion by Ms. Lindsay, a second by Ms. Gonzalez. Mr. McBride had a question.
Well, I did have a question. I'm gonna pass. My mindset, again, sitting on this board for so long, then when I see policy changing, and when we make policies like this, we may not even be here next year. That's what I'm getting at. So we make policies for other individuals that come, and again, like I said, this is out of character for me. That's all.
But the only thing that we're changing right now is just the included in this one is not the limitation on the board.
Right.
Just to clarify, is the mandated reporting.
Right.
Roll call.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
I pass.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. Yeah.
Ms. Lensing, to your point on when will implicit bias training be done, it's built into the online training that is on the DCFS website, but I also would ask at III, if that is not something that is provided, let me know. If you feel there is something more, we can look at that.
So just go on to DCFS on our own time and do it?
It is the implicit bias that law requires is built into the DCFS required training that
Okay.
we're required to do, or because it has to be a DCFS training or other approved provider. But it is also possible for board members in particular. There will be something at III that speaks to that, and I'm just asking that you let me know if that's the case from a knowledge perspective, and if there's something more you feel that might be useful for the board members to get. Thank you.
Got it.
Thank you.
You'll probably have.
We're at board member time. Ms. Gonzalez?
Oh gosh. Well, thank you everyone for attending the meeting, joining us from home. I want to share that I made a huge investment in Waukegan and staying here. I recently bought my very first home, and that is, I think that is not only an investment in my future, but also a promise to Waukegan. This is where I grew up. This is where I'm going to stay. And continue to grow roots and create sanctuaries for my family, friends, and extended family friends. And happy holidays as they approach. I don't know.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Riddle.
Well, I'd say congratulations, Ms.
Thank you.
Gonzalez. I did that 40-some years ago, and did it twice, in fact. Moved back to Waukegan and bought 2 houses, 20 years apiece, probably. So congratulations to you. We need people like yourself, young people who see a future in this city and want to be a part of it. And I thank everyone who has bought a house in Waukegan and has made a commitment to improve our city and improve our schools and work for this community, which is a great community. So yes, the holidays are coming up, and the weather's going to be turning down a little bit. We've been enjoying almost summer-like weather again, so get out there. I think tomorrow may be our last nice day of it. Look at the time, folks. We're going to be out of here before 10 o'clock, Mr. McBride. So thank you all for being with us. Have a good night.
Well,
Mr. McBride.
Congratulations on your house. I was born across the street, and I don't plan on going nowhere. But anyway, I think to the administration, I'd like for you guys to put something in writing, bullet point everything that we're doing at this point to improve literacy. Because it's a lot going on that I don't even think the board even aware of. It's a lot going on that we're doing now to improve literacy. Probably done took place within the last couple of months. And I just like for the board, the administrators to bullet point all those things other than what we see with Spotlight. But there's a lot of things going on right now to improve literacy. And I think the public needs to know that.
Thank you, Mr. McBride. Ms. Hannah.
First off, I would like to give my personal condolences to Mr. Doyer. How do you say his name? Doyer.
From Hyde Park.
Yes, and to his family, as well as to the Hyde Park staff and students. I know it was a loss, and I'm sure that crisis intervention was there. And also, I'd like to give prayers for the staff member at Lewis Middle School that had to be have emergency medical treatment for his issue. I want to say congratulations. I did visit Jack Benny Middle School. I was very impressed with what they're doing over there in terms of teaching children how to read instead of teaching them about reading. I was very, very impressed about that, and that it's working over there. And then something that I have never done before, I did it. I'm not going to tell you the after effects. The after effects, but I just have to say kudos to the high school drama, the drama club, because that haunted house that they had over there, it was magnificent, scary, truly scary. It was excellent, and they did an absolutely fabulous job. And so kudos to them with that. And I was scared.
I was going to say, Miss Hannah the Younger, keep your mama out of haunted houses. I'm done.
Go
ahead,
Ms. Hannah.
Hannah.
Well, I went, but the haunted house, and I certainly hope that maybe it could be expanded. Okay, it can be expanded. You know, in a bigger area. The only thing I didn't know where I was going, right? But you know, I was scared I was gonna trip on something, you know. But anyway, it was excellent, and so hopefully we can expand on that. It was scary because I came out of there, I was sweating.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Ms. Lindsay.
Oh man. I echo Ms. Hannah with her condolences to the Hyde Park family and the Lewis Middle School family, and also, as Mr. Edwards brought up, also to Jessica Gatlin's family. That's not something you would ever dream would happen, and that's so very unfortunate.
Yes.
So condolences. In terms of things that are being celebrated right now for the holidays, so Diwali's going on. I know the official day was the 12th, but it does go for a couple more days. So to that community, hopefully the festivities are going well. With regard to missing some of these events that are going on with the district, I'm just going to echo again a nice, clean calendar that families can just access and view so that they can see all of the great things that all of our schools are doing, because it's definitely not my personal intention, nor do I believe it to be the intention of any of our board members, to miss out on the events. So to hear that some things happened that we could have gone to support is a little disappointing, and it would just be nice to be able to have good information and an easy resource to go to. And I just want to make one comment into response to Board Member McBride's comments. When we are asking questions of the district and the administration, the intent is not to demean their expertise, to belittle them in any sense. Our community does not understand everything that we are talking about. So yes, while we are having a meeting in public, we also need to do the work in public. So if we are not giving some sort of resource for people to see, well, what was the work done to get to this conclusion, then these discussions need to happen. And I understand that our rep is of a certain opinion of the Open Meetings Act and is a balcony, not the dance floor. We're not in a place as a district where we're smoothly operating.
That's right.
And it's been that way for a while, and we're not going to get into the history behind it because that's not the important part. The important part is to recognize where we are now and build it so we can be better going forward. So we just have to accept that. So that may mean that we have to get on the dance floor sometimes. And if we're reading the professional learning organization, that's a component of it, is to get in and interact with the people that are the front force, to talk with security, to talk with our teachers, but also to listen to our administration and build that trust as well. So it's not in any way to demean or scrutinize what our staff is doing. Our questions are used to educate our public and to make sure we fully understand and to highlight things that they didn't directly say. So in no way is it disrespectful. It's to get everybody on the same page, because that's something that has not been happening in this district. So I just want to give my personal take on that in response to that. But I hope everyone has a nice, safe weekend. If you celebrate Thanksgiving and you haven't bought your turkey, just make sure you do it this weekend. Get it in the fridge. It needs a couple of days to thaw out. So just be safe in your celebratory activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lizzie. Ms. Fabian.
Again, happy Diwali, and Clark did a phenomenal job in celebrating with their families, so kudos to them. I also want to highlight, while Mr. McBride had that sentiment of getting more active with literacy, the literacy plan, the Illinois literacy plan listening tour is in effect currently. And Thursday, November 16th from 4 to 6, there will be an open forum where everyone is invited, parents, community members, educators, to come and give their input on that comprehensive plan. And that will be taking place at ISB at 555 West Monroe in Chicago. If you cannot make it out to the forum, it is online where you can read the plan, and you can also submit a survey as to your thoughts, and that'll be the guidance that'll be handed out to districts, and that can be found at isb.net/literacy plan. I also want to invite people, as Ms. Hannah stated, will all be out this weekend, but this Saturday there will be a gun violence prevention town hall at 11 o'clock at 202 South Genesee, which is being held by the Lake County State's Attorney Eric Reinhardt. And I know that is an issue that is near and dear to many of our hearts, as we've been seeing gun violence throughout our town. So if you are available, unfortunately I will not be, and neither will my colleagues over here, if you guys can head out on Saturday at 11. And then lastly, in my almost 19 years of working in the district and 18 of being a parent in the district, I have appreciated the many school board members that have been on this board working day in, day out for our students. Tomorrow is Illinois National School Board Member Day. And so I just wanted to say thank you to our current school board members and those past, because now I have a newfound appreciation for you all and the many hours of additional work that's put in. So thank you all for sticking through, especially those of you that have done re-election.
Real quick.
Sorry, this is my bad, because board member Fabian noted what we're not going to be attending. It reminded me. So the FACE department has rescheduled their event, so that's going to be this Thursday, the 16th, at Whittier Elementary from 6 to 7:30. Please, please, please attend. See how you can get involved, see how you can support the students in the district and the community all around. So again, Thursday, November 16th at Whittier, right on Lewis, 6 to 7:30.
Real quick.
Sorry.
I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you.
And there's that gentleman back there. He is working, he's a district staff member. He is working on higher education, and one of his clinical assignments or something was to come to a board meeting, and so he's here.
Oh.
And look, good luck to you. Good luck to you.
Thank you. I had a lot longer comments. I do want to clarify one statement and then give some kudos. So when I mentioned the time at the podium, I believe that the time is sacred, but in the same way that I want our time to be respected, I want the community's time to be respected. And so my exaggeration of reading from a dictionary is I don't believe that that's an appropriate use of time. But I also am a firm advocate, and I've been criticized about it, is I do hold sacred that 3 minutes. I want to hear what those concerns are. And on that note, I know the superintendent is not here, but Deputy Cesario, there were comments made. We have the list here. If we can make sure keeping in touch with the superintendent's previous set expectations, if community members can be assigned to either get the additional information or reach out to those individuals who spoke. So I did want to put that on the record. The other thing that I want to do is shout out our finance department. I don't know if Ms. Polk is still here. She probably is, but the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting has just been awarded to Waukegan Community Unit School District 60 from the Government Finance Officers Association. This is we've been able to get this award for a number of years now, but it's always exciting nonetheless because I know how hard our finance team works to make sure that our books are good, our reporting is on point, and that they can answer any question that we as the Board of Community have. So I did want to shout them out. There's a lot of other things that I want to say. Yes, let's clap.
Let's clap for him. Give him a moment.
And there has been a lot of loss going into this holiday season. We talk about different families. We talk about different events. I have to be transparent. I have 3 children. I love this position. I cannot be at everything. I will not be at everything. But I do want us to know and also realize that sometimes, like, we're invited to read. And I apologize, Board of Education, if I'm invited. I don't know who else they reached out to. I will do a better job of trying to make sure that information is communicated. But I don't know who's been invited and who hasn't. So if that's something that the board wants, great. And I'm gonna cut it off because I wanted to get out of here at 9:30, but I let Miss Lindsay and Miss Hannah talk again, so I'm gonna blame them.
I mean, it's fair. I'll take it.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. See?
Motion by Ms.
Second.
Lindsay, second by Mr. Riddle. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.